Yes, students, today we are going to start with the poem that is A Tiger in the Zoo, because it's a combined period for B and C section. So, Tiger in the Zoo is written by Leslie Norris. So, what the poet has explained in this poem, the poet has explained about the condition, about the agony, okay, or about the helplessness of an animal who is caged. So naturally, when the animals they are in cages, they never feel happy. Their freedom is curtailed. They feel that they are you can say in boundaries. So they are not able to express their emotions. Moreover, if they are allowed to move freely in their natural habitat, they would be very much happy over there. They would be free to use. They would be free to enjoy their freedom, and they would be very much happy to enjoy their freedom in their natural habitat. So we as humans, we should never keep any animal in zoo, because this is very much evident from the situation of lockdown. When we were confined, we were limited to our houses only. So what was the condition at that? We were feeling very sad. We were always in desolated mood. We always wanted to go out, move freely. So how, if we as human beings are having these kind of feelings to wait for freedom, and we are always yearn for our freedom, then why not animals? Animals, they do have equal right to enjoy their freedom, and if they are kept in cages, it is not possible for them that they will move freely and they will enjoy their life. Okay, so the life in freedom is always blissful, and life without freedom is like a curse. And this is what you can say has happened with the tiger who is kept in a zoo. So the poet, he is making comparison of the life of a tiger when he is limited to a zoo, when he is kept in a zoo behind the bars, and how the animal it behaves when it is moving in its natural habitat. So both the he's comparing and contrasting both the situations, which is very much opposite to each other, right? So this poem, so let me share with you first of all the poem. Okay, so this poem, it contrasts. So just a moment, please. This poem, it contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. So this I have already told you that the poet is making a comparison of the tiger who is residing in the zoo, who is caged and who is behind the bars. It is compared to that of the tiger who is he is free to move inside his boundaries. He is always free to move inside his boundaries. Okay, so he can do whatever he wants, wherever he want to go, he will enjoy the freedom. But when his freedom is curtailed, the tiger is not at all happy to live in a caged environment. Okay, he always wanted to be free, he always wanted to move freely. Otherwise, it is very difficult for an animal to live in a zoo. The animal is feeling sad, no shine in the eyes, and loss of freedom has altogether make the animal impatient also. So this, let us see what the tiger in the zoo is doing. Now, the poem the poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. As I told you that the poet is making a comparison of what he is making a comparison of the life of a life of a tiger, of an animal who is kept in a zoo. As he is making comparison of the animal in that of zoo, as well as he is also making comparison when he is in jungle. Okay, so it means that there is shifting of the environment, shifting of the habitat. Okay, so he is talking about animal in the zoo, then he is talking about animal who is free to move in his natural environment, and then back again into the zoo. So ultimately animal is not at all enjoying his life. So let us read this poem and let us see that how an animal feels. So first of all, the poem starts, he stalks in his vivid stripes. Okay, so what is the meaning of stalks? Stalks means follows. Okay, he follows in his vivid. Vivid means clear. He moves or he follows in his clear stripes. So now in this line, Okay, I will come to this line afterwards. Stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. Few steps of his cage. Now, it means that the tiger is moving with his clear stripes and he is taking few means very short steps in his cage. Why he is taking short steps in his cage? It is just because of the reason that the area of the cage is very small. There is not much space that is available to the tiger in order to move freely in the cage. This you very well know. Okay. On pads of velvet white. On pads of velvet white. So if I talk about the first line, here in first line, stalks in his vivid stripes. So here there is predomination of the sound, consonant sound S. So there is, you can say, repetition of sound S and S in the line twice. There is predomination of this sound, consonant sound in the poem, sorry, in this first line. And now see, because there are some other words in between this S and this S sound, these two consonant sounds of S, there lies some words in between. When the same sound is being repeated again and again in the line, okay, but in between some words, you can say they fall, this is called as consonance. I will often talk about consonance and assonance in the poems this time. Many examples are there. So this is the poetic device used here. And moreover, here in this poem, there is mentioned, see, first of all, he stalks in his stripes the few steps of his cage. So see here, after this stripes, there is no use of any comma or no use of any full stop. There is not any punctuation mark. Okay. And moreover, the idea of the very first line, it is falling or it is carried forward onto the next line. So this kind of literary device, poetic device, in which there is no use of any punctuation mark at the end of the line, like comma or full stop. And moreover, there the idea of the first line, it is carried forward to the next line. This is called as enjambment. So what is this example? This is called as enjambment. Okay. So this literary device is used here in para 1, 2. Moreover, the pads of velvet white. Pads of velvet means what kind of foot, what kind of feet the tiger is having. Tiger is moving silently without making much noise with pads of velvet. It means his pads. Pads means his feet. They are compared to that of a soft thing that is called that is velvet. So here is the comparison made without the use of like or as. So whenever there is comparison made without the use of words like or as, then which literary device it is? This is called as metaphor. This is called as metaphor. Okay? In his quiet rage, rage means anger. So he is moving in the cage in his quiet rage. Yes, quiet. What is rage means anger. So see here, can rage or anger be ever quiet? No, it can never be quiet. Okay. So here, so now ultimately if rage or anger can never be quiet, then why the poet has used this quiet word? Quiet means silent. Silent anger. Can anger be ever silent? No. It means two opposite adjectives. They are used consecutively. Okay. In a subsequent manner. He is using adjective with anger. Okay. With this mood. And both are opposite in nature. So this kind of literary device, when adjective is used opposite in meaning, okay, this is called as, this literary device is called as oxymoron. This literary device is called as oxymoron. Okay, so three literary devices used here, poetic devices used here in this poem. First is consonance, that is repetition of S and S, because it is a consonant sound. This is the reason why it is called as consonants. Okay, if there will be
मैम बोर्ड बिल्कुल भी क्लियर नहीं है मैम.
yes, Amritpal.
आपका बोर्ड बिल्कुल भी क्लियर नहीं है मैम, कोई दिख ही नहीं रहा.
But I think so. There is some network issue that I can't help it out. Okay. This is the reason why I have shared with you. Okay, this poem, right? Okay, so you can note down side by side. So here I'm pointing out it on the board here on the that is screen sharing. That is here. See, stalks S and stripes S. So here there is repetition of consonant sound S and S. So this is consonants. Now see here after stripes there is no punctuation mark. And the idea is carried forward that the tiger with his clear stripes, he is moving and covering a small area of that of cage. So this is called as enjambment, okay? And of pads of velvet, because the soft feet of the tiger, they have been compared to that of a very soft thing that is velvet. So this is metaphor. And in a quiet rage, can anger be ever quiet? No, it can never be. So opposite adjective is used in two opposite adjectives. They are used in meaning. So this is what? This is an example of oxymoron. I hope that the first paragraph is clear. Now, he should be lurking in shadow. He should be lurking means moving from one place to another. So now see, when you are reading this line, he should be lurking in shadow. So it means that an image is going to be created in your mind. Okay, lurking is actually hidden in order to wait for its prey. So the tiger is being hiding behind the grass or behind some other thing in order to wait for his prey. So he should be lurking in shadow. This is an example of imagery. Why this is an example of imagery? Because when we are reading this line, so that an image is going to be created in our mind that how the tiger is moving or is being hiding. This is an example of imagery. So here, earlier though we were talking the tiger is taking small steps. Now here I am saying the poet is saying that he should be lurking in shadow, means he should be hiding himself behind to wait for his prey. So it means that here the poet is imagining the situation if the tiger would be free. If the tiger would be free, then what it will be doing? He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass. Sliding means he should be moving through the long grass and hiding, and only his shadow could be seen near the water hole. Near the water hole means near some stream of water. It can be a lake, it can be a pond, it can be a river, in a forest where plump deer pass. Plump deer, plump means heavy, fat, and plump deer means plump deer would have come to drink water, and the tiger is waiting for its prey to make an attack at that deer. So here in this line, see, there is again repetition of plump deer pass. So there is again domination or predomination of sound P. Plump deer pass. So here see, P and P, which is a consonant sound, again it is repeated. So this can be consonant. Moreover, okay, this can be consonants used here. Okay, so again in this line, sliding through the long grass near the water hole. So idea of this second line, sliding through the long grass, see, to the near the water hole. The idea is being carried forward to the next line also. Okay, so what is this? This is again an example of enjambment. What is this? This is of course an example of enjambment. Now, before I move to the third paragraph, let us see the rhyme scheme of first paragraph. So first paragraph, just make it out on your books. Last word of every line, let us see. Stripes, A, cage, B, quiet, C, rage. Because cage and rage, they rhyme with each other. So this is again, it again comes out to be B. So it is A, B, C, B. Okay, this is A, B, C, B. Next, see the rhyme scheme for the second paragraph. Lurking in shadow, long grass, hole and path. Shadow A, grass B, hole C, grass and path rhymes again B. So same one, A, B, C, B. Next, third paragraph, he should be snarling around houses. Again, the poet is now imagining, or he is imaging the poet, he is imaging the tiger to be free in its natural habitat. Maybe he must be living near in the jungle, okay, or in the forest. Yes, just lean of 10C.
मॉर्निंग मैम मैम मैंने पूछना था जो प्लम लिखा है उसका क्या मतलब
Plump, yes, plump pass.
मैम प्लम का
Plum means fat, health. Okay. So next, afterwards, third paragraph, he should be snarling. Snarling means, snarling it is warning sounds made by the animals. What is the meaning of snarling here? It means the warning sounds made by animals. He should be making some warning sounds. Okay. So see, this snarling, as I told you that some of the words, when they are associated with particular animal or things, the literary device is called as onomatopoeia, because you must be remembering the class of 9, last one revision classes in which I have discussed all the literary devices. So there, what is onomatopoeia? I was telling you that sometimes knock. What knock means? Knock is immediately that what comes to your mind is door, knock at the door. Hiss, if I talk about the word hiss, it is immediately which animal comes to your mind? The immediate animal that comes to your mind is snake. So what it means that some words, they are particularly associated with special things or animals. This literary device, it is called as onomatopoeia, and here in this case, snarling is used with that of tiger. Snarling is used with that of tiger here. So this is again an example of onomatopoeia. He should be snarling round houses. Means he should be giving some warning sounds around the houses. Why? In order to terrorize the people. He wanted to terrorize the people. Okay, yes. Okay, so here in all these paragraphs, see from right from the first para, first line he stalks, second line he should, third paragraph first line he should be. So see, one more thing, second paragraph he should be, it is starting with these words he should be. Third paragraph again it is said he should be. So this is what? This is an example of anaphora here. When the same words, line starts at the starting, or some words they are repeating at the starting, this is called as anaphora in second and third paragraph only. Moreover, the poet is using he for the tiger. It means he is giving, or he is attributing living quality, human-like quality to that of tiger. So what is this? This literary device is called as personification. Poet is personifying the tiger. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. Jungle's edge means at the boundary where the jungle or forest it ends, and apart from it, along with that, adjoining territory is that of some dwelling place, some living place of human beings. So at the jungle's edge, he should be giving out some, you can say, snarling sounds in order to terrorize people. Bearing his white fangs. Bearing means showing, uncovered. His white fangs. So here, fangs means sharp teeth, his claws. So here in this paragraph, see, his and s. There is predominance of sound s. Okay, sound s again is a consonant. in case of his, then fangs, and then his. So this HS sound is repeated again and again. This sound of which is a consonant sound is repeated again and again in this line. So this is again an example of consonance. This is an example of consonance. Bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Terrorizing the village means terrorizing the people of the village. So this is again the description made by the poet about the condition of the dog when he is free to move in his natural habitat. It means when the tiger is altogether free, right? Yes, Jasleen.
थर्ड पैरा में personification कौन सी लाइन में यूज हुई है?
Personification, see in the very first line, poet is using he. He is used for the tiger, which is an animal. So this is an example of personification. Clear?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So next, but he is locked in a concrete cell. Again, see Jasleen, here he is used for the tiger. In the fourth paragraph, this is again an example of personification. Okay, but he is locked in a concrete cell. But now the tiger is behind the bars. He is locked in a cage. He is helpless. So concrete, he is locked in a concrete cell. See here, in he, locked, and concrete. So which sound is here repeated? This is E. Okay, this sound is repeated, which is a vowel. So when there is repetition of a vowel sound in a line, but not in consecutive manner, this is what? This is called as assonance. This is called as assonance. If it comes out to be a consonant sound, then it will be a consonance. But here, because vowel sound, that is E, is repeated here, see that in he, E, and locked, and concrete, and cell also. Okay, cell, E also, then this is what? This is assonance. His strength behind bars. So in his strength, see his and strength, S of his and strength of S. This is again repeated. S is consonant, so this is consonance, and behind bars. Behind bars. So his strength is behind bars. So there is repetition of sound B in two consecutive words. No word in between. So this is called alliteration. This is called as alliteration. Stalking the length of his cage. Stalking means measuring the length, moving from one side to another of that of the cage, and ignoring visitors. It means that the tiger is so sad, he's in such a desolated mood that he overlooks or ignoring the visit of the people who has come to see the tiger. Let us see the rhyme scheme. First word, last word of every line, cell A, bars B, cage C, and visitors, bars and visitors rhyme, so it is B. Again, it is A, B, C, B. So, last paragraph, he hears the last voice at night. He hears. So, in case of he hears, there is a repetition of H and H. This is what? H is a consonant. So this is consonants used here. He hears the last voice at night. The patrolling cars. Patrolling means they are those who have come in order to check out the situation. Okay, patrolling, moving cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes. So here with his brilliant, here there is predominance of I sound. I is a vowel. So this is the reason why it is called as assonance. This is the reason why it is called as assonance. At the brilliant stars, at the brilliant stars. Okay, so the tiger, he is just looking with his brilliant eyes at the shining stars in the sky. So what is the similarity between the brilliant eyes and that of the brilliant stars? Okay, it means that both are shining. Both are shining. Okay, so again, if we talk about the rhyme scheme, again it comes out to be night A, cars B, eyes A, and stars B. A, B, A, B. Okay. So the poet, he wants to put forward this concept that freedom is an essential virtue. We cannot overlook and we cannot limit freedom only to human beings. No, every organism or every living being which is present on this earth must have the right to live and move freely. If they are limited to a boundary, and then ultimately this will make the animal not feel good and not feel happy in his, you can say, in his confined state of living. So human beings should not be cruel to animals, and because animals, when they are in cages, they feel angry and they feel helpless. This is the theme of this poem. Okay, so we should not allow animals to live in cages. Okay, so this is the poem that we have discussed. Okay, so I hope now that the poem is clear to you. So tomorrow I'm going to discuss the question answers of the poem.